but what advantage did that have over the PC at the time? Well, nothing in theory, because although it had a very good chipset, the Amiga wasn't particularly good at 3D games. At the time of the Amiga taking off, it was the dawn of things like Wolfenstein on the PC, and there was no way the Amiga chipset could handle that type of graphic processing. But the thing that got the Amiga popular, and the thing that maybe what makes free and open source software popular today, is the fact that it gave users free run to be creative. Platforms like the PlayStation 3, if a user bought one tomorrow and sits in front of it and wants to be creative and make their own software, you can't do it. So I think the key to a popular platform is allowing people to have creativity. And it's funny because after being hooked on Minecraft for so many hours, again, is another thing that appeals to users. Giving users the ability to be creative and to realise their imaginative ideas is probably one of the things that makes a console popular. I mean, certainly in the years of the Super Nintendo, when the Magicom came out, people were writing homebrew games for the Super Nintendo, something which you couldn't possibly dream of doing as a bedroom coder sitting with a small PC. So creativity is something that the companies, I just can't understand why they don't encourage this and want to bring it onto the platforms, because it does make hideously popular platforms.
The defense they usually gave is something about users not caring about it. That's, of course, a mistake in strategy. And point of view, because they need to care about the developers. It's the developers who provide the value to a platform. If Microsoft is going to betray the people who have been writing programs for Windows Mobile for the past 10 years, maybe maintaining them based on the latest releases of the operating system, if they're going to throw this platform away and present this thing called Windows Phone 7 or whatever, if it's a platform, and who knows if it's a platform, if it's just more of a, well, I think what happens with Nokia is interesting, because now they actually try to impose it as some kind of I don't want to use strong words, but the situation now is the platform itself is going to be treated with skepticism, especially after the Keen fiasco, and then there was, well, what else was it? The Zune, for example, and all kinds of things that get cancelled, and all the developers basically work in vain. Another thing is things like Silverlight, and what else? You know, where basically they provide a platform for people to develop software, and there is no guarantee they'll get paid back. We had this discussion before about how much people are being paid by downloads or sales of certain programs for Windows Phone 7, and I think even one of those so-called big sellers of the software was being misrepresented when a certain number of sales or profits were being put out there on the web somewhere on a blog, and he had to come in the comments and actually refute that and say, well, I wasn't paid as much as you put it. I wasn't actually. And this is the thing with Microsoft. They don't have to exactly lie, but they can try and emphasize a different side of things, a different perspective. The things I noticed about a week ago, I was in the gym listening to the TV, and there was an advert for Windows Phone 7, and they say, we have thousands of apps. Now, what do you think thousands of apps means? How many thousands? I think they only passed 1,000 a couple of months ago.
Yeah, I saw this claim, and I said at the time, I don't think that's a good thing. If you're looking to entice developers to a platform which, let's be fair, has got not even a fraction of the interest of Android or Apple.
94%.
Yeah, and if you're trying to attract developers and you're saying, well, hang on, not only have you got a limited customer base, but we've also got thousands of apps already here, how on earth is that going to be appealing to a would-be developer who's thinking, right, well, should I go for Android, should I go for Apple, or should I go onto this Windows Phone 7 thing? And the other thing is, people often say when I've had comebacks on some of the things I've written about Android, they say, well, there's no money to be made in Android. Now, even if we say that's true, which it isn't, but let's just say for argument's sake it is, the users or the customers, potential customers, have chosen Android. If you want to produce things for Windows Phone 7 because you can make money, that's all well and good. But if you haven't got the users to buy it, then it's going to be a pointless exercise anyway. So the answer is, if you can't find a way to make money selling it to Android users, then you're not going to make money. There's no point developing for a platform with the promise of making a lot of money on your app when there's no users to sell it to in the first place. So it's really an end users market now, whereas before maybe the markets could have been dictated to by the developers themselves. They could say, right, we want you to come to this platform because we're going to develop all our software for it. Now it seems the power's in the end users' hands and the customers' hands, who are saying, no, we want Android products, or we want an Apple iPhone. That's how I see it anyway. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I had my brother was developing some stuff for Android before the webcams, and I actually have a copy of this one here. But the thing is, even from a developer's point of view, I think it's a lot of the software they chose, and even any person who's developed in Java before can actually understand the syntax, calling methods, and everything else like that. Do you know anything about the SDKs that Microsoft provides for it? Because I think they use something to do with Silverlight or some component that's similar to it. And I just think, but hold on a second, just about a month before they launched the phones, they were saying, well, we changed the strategy of Silverlight. And the only place it's going to be really like a strategic area of development is going to be the phones. And I said on the show, and that was around the time we started the show, I just said, well, hold on a second, if the phones fail, which they probably will, and I was right so far, the phones do fail. The Nokia thing is a different story, and that's just like market distortion or whatever. But the phones don't sell well, and there is no reason to keep Silverlight around. I mean, how many sites have you heard recently that actually added a video feature which uses Silverlight?
The only site I've ever come across in the last year that's had a Silverlight required Silverlight is Microsoft's own website. I have in my RSS feed the Microsoft Press link, which I check the latest Microsoft news. I do like to see what Microsoft say versus what everybody else says.
And you heard deafening silence. They don't make any announcement about them quitting, but I think they pretty much gave up on the race for web video now. Did you hear about them trying to sneak in the codecs, the MPEG-LA codecs into Chrome after Google had basically removed them? The reason Google removes them is because Google does not want to pay this cartel, which is companies like Apple and Microsoft in it. It doesn't want to pay them royalties for every video that's in YouTube. It's trying to control now it's creating a patent pool to protect the WebM, I shouldn't say standard, the format of the free software that's implementing VPA. They try to ensure that people will be able to use videos a lot more freely, whereas Microsoft is kind of going the opposite way, and Microsoft is trying to enforce people that they use Silverlight, and then they have to get Mono if they have a BSD distro or a Linux distro. It's really quite disgusting how they try to use codecs and to use our content. You see, what they try to do is turn people against one another in the same way that they have people send around Word files and say, well, you should get Office to read my CV or something. They try to create a situation where people sharing videos and passing videos around or links to videos will require people to go to Microsoft's website and get software to view people's, even if you take a picture, photographs or videos of your daughter or something and send it to someone, they need to go through Microsoft to view the video. You need Microsoft's permission to watch your own family. And they play these games, and Google is doing the right thing here, and I really commend them for it, because they try to say, well, we don't want to control codecs, or we will kind of provide a codec, but we're not going to charge any money for it, and our aim is to increase the exposure of media. We might put some ads around it, but we try to deliver it to you free of charge, and you can appreciate that compared to what the alternative is.
Well, on that note, I think at 12:50, according to my clock, I think we'll look to wrap up the show. Before I pass over to Roy, who I believe is going to introduce the closing track, thank you I'll say my usual piece. I like to close off the show with my Jerry Springer-esque type summary. Thank you very much for downloading the show. I hope you enjoyed it. It's been a little bit different, a little bit disjointed in the sense that we've just come off the back of a testing our video recording. So I hope you check that on YouTube. The show notes will be up on my site very shortly with all the links. It may well be, by the time this is encoded, it may well be tomorrow morning those happen. But now Roy's going to introduce the final track. I've got no idea what this is. I've got a feeling it's not